Stādīju priekšā Sebastianu, viņš pastāstīs vairāk. Principā viņš nodarbojas ar ļoti daudzām dažādām multimēdiju lietām, bet viņa galvenā pamatnodarbošanās bija programmētājs no Nīderlandes, ļoti lielā kompānijā, dažādu darbu darītājs, bet kopumā caur šo programmēšanu viņš tagad arī visādas multimēdiju lietas, foto, video, mūziku un vēl visu kaut ko. Bet galvenais, ko viņš stāstīs par to, kā tad atrast sevi un kā virzīties. Un vēl, ja jums būs jautājumi, es ceru, ka jums būs jautājumi, sevišķi jautājiet viņam par mācību iespējām Nīderlandē, jo tas ir lielisks brīdis, kad to izdarīt, jo viņš ir to darījis vairākās Nīderlandes augstskolās, tā kā, ja jums kaut kas par to arī būs, tad tas būtu vienkārši perfekti. Okay, that was a short introduction of me, of the basics, and now you have the scene.
Right, thanks. Every time I'm in Latvia, and that's been for the past 10 years, I get better and better in hearing my name in long Latvian sentences. So I know this was a pretty nice story about me. And it was also kind of confronting, I think, to realize how many different things I do all the time. To give you a bit of an idea, this is my holiday now. I'm on holiday, took off, and now we're here. So today I want to talk with you guys, and I actually should say girls, just hands up for the girls who came out in bigger numbers here, about coding, combining and creating, which is kind of my little mantra, little philosophy. What we are going to do today, because there was also a question about making some content on an interactive workshop, I thought I would try to explain to you guys how I look at the world and how I tell a story. And a story you all see everywhere. If you're making a sculpture, you're making a story. If you're making a painting or a website or an app or a photo, if you're trying to tell a story, you're going to need to find your medium. And when you find your medium and your story connect, you can really make a powerful impact in the world. And as you are all studying and young and looking at the world with fresh eyes, and I'm old and my hair is falling out, I'm very simple sometimes, I thought it would be good to put on a smile and give you guys some lessons that I've learned from working pretty hard for the last, 15 years on telling stories in multimedia. And to reveal, just as you always need to do with a good story, the plot ends with the most important thing is finding your why. So if anything you hear is confusing to you, or I talk too fast, or you want to know more, you just ask me why. Like, why did you make that, or why does this beamer not work? And I will try to answer. So here we go. First, I will give you a bit of the structure of my lecture, so you know what we're going to go through, my workshop. There's my background, because we wanted to see where am I even coming from. Every time I go from Holland to Latvia, I really realize that I go from the North Sea on my left to Russia on my right. And it's like going from the whole span of Europe. And in a lot of ways we're so much similar, and in a lot of ways we're so different. But I love to just give a bit of my background, and if you have questions about any of that, you can just feel free to ask. And then I have a message, which is what's the story I'm telling, what I'm trying to give you, and what I want to give to you is how I approach solving problems with code, but also with giving a lecture or buying a house. And then at the end, I want to share a little bit of vision, and then just open the floor to discussion and see where we want to go. So this together is the workshop on how to tell a story and why. So if we're all ready. Yeah, no questions? And we can go. All right, so how to tell a story. Actually, this is a pretty simple problem that's been solved, I think 2,200 years ago? No, I guess 2,000 years ago. And one of the great orators of his time in the Roman Empire, Cicero, broke up the problem of telling a story into 3 pillars. You need credibility, you need logic, and you need emotion. And this was like a throwaway thing I learned in high school, in what should have been just my introduction to what we call in Holland the gymnasium, where you learn Latin and Greek. But it has been such a powerful thing ever since that if I try to think, if you have a good story, you always have these three things. And I'll break them down and make them more simple. But let's say, first of all, you need credibility. I was just talking with Niels, like if someone walks in here from the streets and starts talking about art, who's this person? If he walks in, but it's the director and he's been here for 40 years and he set up the school and he's now walking in and hushed silence falls and every word he says is like, it is important, And there's always this aspect to it of just having more experience will give you more weight to your story. More time making your sculpture, more time making your painting, more time making your fashion. And then there's a logic to it. There's always a logic to things. So if you make photographs, for instance, you will find the logic of the camera is about light. You have an aperture, you have a speed, and you have the light sensitivity of your sensor. And if you will make a fashion, you will also have your logic. I don't know it, but I know you'll have all sorts of techniques around sewing, or which materials to combine or how to prepare them. And there's a logic you really need to just also imbibe. There's no way around it. I'm making photos now for, I guess, 20 years, since I'm 18, or that's when I bought my first camera. And it's, I really miss sometimes like how excited I was just not knowing anything and diving into the camera. But in the 20 years in between, you just learn so much technique about the camera that first, going so deep into the logic, you kind of lose the space. You forget that it's actually magic. But then you get so good at it and every dial and everything that you can do with your eyes closed, the magic comes back. It's like you're in the flow of what you're trying to create. Be it sculpture, art, painting, or this amazing fashion thing that's here. And then the last thing, and the thing that's actually most important, if I can be really say something about our times, like a lot of things, we used to live in a world where you think you had a lot of experience, you're really smart, you get there. But now in the world we live in, and you see with social media and Trump more and more, it's all emotion. Like he just will make word salad, but like he brings it with this like energy that these people want to see. And then me, like as art lover, intellectual guy, it doesn't make sense what he says, but it doesn't matter. It's just that people are cheering for him. So you never forget your emotion when you build your story up. Everyone can join. So that's like really high over, like the three ingredients of like a strong story. And I promise this will get less vague and less high over as we get into it, because it'll just be applied. But just if you stamp these three in your head, like it has helped me a lot. Every time I try to make a story, make something, I think, is this, what's the history of this thing? What's the history of this building? What is the logic? Is it lit well? And what is the emotion? Is it a beautiful building? Does it bring me a feeling? Alright. So now let's dive into each one of these, and then you'll see how it applies to kind of how my history has got here now. So first of all, we will talk about logos or logic. So the how of it, you need to make sense. I hope I'm still making sense. Then we'll go on to ethos, the proof. So what have you made? What is the thing on your CV that proves that you're the one who says it? And then why? So like, why are you moved to make this art? For myself, I like to have sayings. So changing stably without changing stability is kind of my mantra for when I'm just trying to be in the mode of making a history of things. To like, what have I taken pictures of, or what have I built? What can I show to people? So with your history, and now we get to how I get here, a lot of people will define their history and how they were educated. I mean, it's such a big part of you that it goes without saying really that your CV is part of where you worked, but also where you educated. And I think you guys all have like a very amazing school here. And I'm kind of jealous that I never went to something like this. I had to kind of get it from YouTube, I guess, but you guys really have a great place. But my history is also more in arts, but I started off way more theoretical. So I was studying at the university, Bachelor of Arts, and then a Master of Arts at the Erasmus, which is Liberal Arts and Sciences College in Utrecht. So if you are interested in a really, really cool step after your high school, your applied level, this is a place where they do the Liberal Arts and Sciences philosophy of education, which means you'll do science, you will do social science and humanities. So it's like hard numbers to like how does gentrification work, cities work, social problems, and how do people write poetry? And you'll see, like, it was a very vague study to do. I'm talking about this one. It was very valuable for me to do it. It took me like 10 years of my life to realize it was valuable, but it was way too vague. So after doing university, I went on to do high school level actually, because I had all the theory. I was full of books, but I couldn't use it. It was just like, you have constantly a kind of ADHD feeling. You want to make something, but you don't have nothing to make it with. So then I went and studied coding, actually, web and graphic design. And it was quite amazing for me, because this is not, you have like university, you have like higher education, you have like the lowest education. At first I was like, I want to do this lowest education, but I did it because my friend also said, who do you think you are better than these people? I was like, I don't. Actually, I'm probably really useless at this. So I got like the lowest education, which just gave me these fundamental tools of how to like make a website, how to style a website, like what are the problems you're solving when you're coding. And I liked that so much that I went then on to take that. I earned some money in the meantime, and then I invested in quite an expensive course that was quite long, that really gave me the fundamentals of coding. So like with all these things, you can always go deeper into it. So I could do a sculpture workshop 2 nights a week, and I would learn a lot. It's not the same as I do like sculpture for 20 years here at the academy, teaching people to do it. And like with this, I'm never going to really need to go deeper into programming than I've learned there. It's like, very fundamental. And there's people who are scientists who go deeper, but for me that's interesting, but not useful anymore. And then my latest 2 educations, where I did a master in arts, and I did an innovation management course at the Rotterdam School of Management. And this is because I just want to apply more this way of thinking, where you try to use art and science and technology to make things beautiful. So if I had to sum that bit up, that would be study hard. I really didn't study that hard. I was pretty used to that study, but you have to say it, right? You can't go and put on a slide like that. You should study
hard. Take it easy, yes?
Yeah, just take it easy. Work hard, but always try to play harder. Because like the key of the whole thing, I think, is that your work should become your fun. And if you have a feeling that you're trying to find a life-work balance, then that's nearly like a telltale sign, because you hear people like, I need to balance my life with my work, which means my work sucks, and I want to compensate it with my life, so I like live like this, But if you have perfect work balance, your work is your life, and you're just happy in what you do, but it's very difficult. And if you're not, I like creative artistic types a lot, because they actually make something, and if you can make money from the thing you make, you're in a really brilliant place to be. Otherwise, you'll always be working behind a cashier somewhere, or in a bank, in some office somewhere, and thinking, oh, actually I'm a painter, but no one sees me, And you don't want to do that. But, last guy was an unseen painter, he didn't end well either. But play harder, so you have a little bit like what is actually the best part for me is just finding the niche between doing work. So we were doing a comedy show with friends, and making a living in this photo shoot in the Tasman, which is very private. And here I'm doing innovation management on the professional app, or with a colleague from my work in Holland. We're doing all sorts of things. And they're all different things. Like you said, multimedia expert is from websites to apps to videos to photos. But essentially, or acting, that was really funny. But essentially, you're doing the same thing over and over and over again. Just apply the things. I just put a picture of my kid in that. These are cool things. So, are there any questions? Am I going too fast? It's a pretty vague story, I understand. But if you feel the urge to ask why, then just go ahead. So, that took us through the background. So now I just did my ethos, right? So that's like, who am I even saying all these things? You guys don't know me, I don't know you, I'm not Latvian, so I also don't have, like, I guess, credibility in the same sense that other people would have here. You know, if you know the systems that you have studied for 10 years there. But that's a bit of my background, and anything you want to know about how we made apps or videos or things we can go into later, or not. But now to what I would like to say about, like, how to make these things, because each one of you will have your own discipline, your thing that you want to get good in, and there's also a way of getting into a routine, I think, that kind of applies over whatever you are doing. And I want to share, like, a bit my vision on that. So for me, I like, again, to make a kind of a haiku or a mantra or whatever, I say, like, concise, consistent craftsmanship. Like, this is when I need to get into the mind space of working, because you can't only think about your history, you also need to build it. This involves me putting on Bach. Like, I have, according to Spotify, I'm in the 0.005 highest percentile of listening Bach. But then the weird thing is I'm not even, like, listening to Bach, I'm listening to one album of Bach, which all the time on repeat, because it's like in my DNA and I don't need to, it's on, but I don't hear it anymore. And it just gets me to, like, zone in. And then if you try to repeat to yourself, concise, it's the English word, means, like, try to make your solution as small as possible. See, if you're trying to make a picture or if you're making a painting, I think one of the best things about these, like, more modernist paintings, and it starts with Rembrandt, is that he's just chucking on, like, daubs of paint, and, like, it looks like he's being lazy and getting done quickly, but he's not. He's being as simple as he can be to make the gesture of, for instance, a sleeve really shine like it's alive. It's a crazy trick he does, but it's very small. And then it's consistent, like, he can apply where he wants to apply all the time. And the craftsmanship, I think that's just stands for the hours and the days and years you put in here. The paint on the floor, it doesn't get there from just dropping paint on it. It gets, like, 100 years of painting, and then you see 100 years of craftsmanship. And around it here, I just put some pictures to kind of give, like, where is this coming from again, like, what's the background of these thoughts, because I try to, like, say how I think in one slide, which is kind of hard. Concise, every problem has its space, and confining to that space, it breeds creativity. When you have too much, like, you're trying to solve, you can never solve it right, because you'll just get kind of a mess. So you want to make a perfect picture, maybe you need to crop it in, and that's the picture then, or maybe you need to make a focus, yeah. And then confining the problem, that breeds creativity, because then you can, like, start trying to find out how you can twist things to solve them. Then consistency, get in the flow of your space. So I was at a lecture from a lady who wrote an amazing book, Viņa, and she really was just laying out, like, she has a flow, which is in her house on Saturday morning between 7 and 5. She writes down the chapters that she has put down the night before. And it's, like, all this, like, very routine stuff. And then part of you as an artist will be like, I need to agitate against it. I don't want the structure. But it's the structure that breeds your freedom, because that's, like, how you get onto the rails, the flow of your space. And then you can keep shaving it down. So she writes all these things, and then she chops it down, chops down. And then, I was reading that Virgil also would write then, for instance, 12 poems, and he would cut it down to 2. Or 12 verses, cut it down to 2. It's always cutting it down that makes the stuff that stays over time.
It's like making some kind of routine of doing even creative work.
Absolutely. So if you want to get really creative, there's the author is called Csikszentmihalyi, but his name is way too long to write out. But he's really described how you get into flow. And what flow is a state where you're actually at, like, 10%.
He's Hungarian.
Yeah. This is where this flow is, get into the flow. I'm really referring to that. Also, a great movie, has to be said. Latvian.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Shout out flow. But this is the other flow. And when you can, like, get onto a routine, you can also just forget about things. That's like with jogging, for instance. You have great ideas because you're just in a flow, and you can go with it. And I hope for you guys at some point you will find your art or your tool where you are so good at it you forget you're doing it. And that's an amazing place to be. And then to get there, the craftsmanship, I put woman in there because otherwise that's the craftsman always. Put in the hours and listen deeply to your heroes. So my heroes here, to start off with, up at the top, the OGs, the original gangsters. It's my parents. I always find it very funny when they refer to them like that. But I've been blessed with really great parents that can listen to and quickly turn away. Sebastians Hols is the best author, I think, of the 90s and maybe even like ever. But he has like a way of crafting sentences that's so immediate, but also so maximalistic. It's very interesting. A lot of the way I like to think is the way that he has put it down. The one quote, if it can be so free, is you want to look up "This is Water" by David Foster Wallace. Is an amazing speech he went to graduating students at Kenyon High. Mm-hmm. And the idea of "This is Water," it's a 10-minute speech, but I'll give you the little scoop, is that there's these two fish swimming and they meet this older, wiser fish, and the older, wiser fish says, "Hey guys, how's the water?" And the fish keeps swimming, and then after a while they're like, what is even water? And this is this amazing realization that like everything around you is also kind of a made space, an illusion, you know? Like everything that you see, you can also change to your own way. And if you don't have the hours yet, you don't even see that there is water you're swimming in. It just seems to be this truth that's a given. But yeah, it's a really great writer. And Seneca, he gives you a lot on, it's strange, he's a very rich old senator guy 2,000 years ago, but his writings on Stoicism are like so like recognizable today. About, for instance, one of the tenets of Stoicism, which I think maybe a lot of people can relate to, and which will be useful in your life also sometimes, is that just prepare for the worst and then be happy when it goes good. Like prepare, because then you have two options: or you're prepared, that was the worst, or you're very happy. Because if you just bank on being happy, then when it goes wrong, you're like, hey, I didn't know what's this. I was going to be happy, but where'd it go? And you'll feel like mistreated. So you'll never really ever be happy if you live like that. So Stoicism is really very good philosophy also if you want to find a good routine. And then I have Donna Tartt there because she's just like the most amazing thriller writer ever, and like so erudite and so interesting. There's an interview with her and Charlie Rose where she goes into Dickens and like how Dickens read. And that's why I'm saying also to listen deeply to your heroes. Like she's my hero, but like she's also listening, she's also taking it on from the past, taking it in, trying to make it better with her hours, and then giving it the smallest twist. But I hope anyway.
By the way, I think Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius also was the part of this Stoicism.
Absolutely.
Division of philosophy.
Yeah, so on that, like Marcus Aurelius his famous work is the Meditations, and he will have either learned under Seneca or he's one in the lineup. But it's pretty amazing to see as well, because if you read this, then you'll just see a Roman emperor who is literally the most powerful man in the world, as in like a way of power that you just can't imagine. It would make Putin's knees weak. Just imagine how much this guy can change the course of history. But he is completely obsessed with living like a slave, or like putting himself down in the field in the mud with his troops, because he wants to be there at the bottom line so he can appreciate everything he has. And all the other emperors that you see that go completely wrong, they're the ones that get obsessed with themselves and they think that they're the thing in and of itself. They can only see happiness, otherwise they go crazy. But Marcus Aurelius, I should be in here as well. To sum up, how? Be concise. Every problem has its space. Confining it breeds creativity. Be consistent. Get in the flow of your space. Keep shaving it down. I have a quote here, because I wanted to put an interesting quote I read this morning. Every idea that is true, idea has a form and is capable of many forms. The variety of forms which it is capable determines the value of the idea. So, because we're I think we saw a little bit of architecture as well. This is Frank Lloyd Wright, and he's referring to like how he builds buildings. So the ideas that are true for him are structural ideas, and you can change and try these and keep changing them. But that's the cool thing about when you understand like the basics of what you do here, it's like applying and reapplying that again and again and again. It'll be the rest of your life. And you think, yeah, it's just a few techniques, but yeah, they're endless. It's amazing. And then put in hours and listen deeply to your heroes. Just keep your ears open, I think. And I always talk too much, which you might notice now also, but I do also take some time to listen. Oh yeah, and shout out to my parents. I thought this one is funny as well because I'm trying to be really interesting and everything, but this is just like how my Dutch parents would tell me to like grow up. It would be one karma is real. They didn't say it, by the way. I'm condensing 38 years of my parents telling me stuff here. So one, karma is real, like being nice works. Like people sometimes feel, and all people are very open and they want to do everything. And last year people are a bit more closed, but that's also because they've been hurt a lot. There's been a lot of horrible things that have happened and things that need to be put right still. But then when you are nice, you can get so many things going. If you are only thinking defensively, it's very hard to put steps. We have to kind of trust it. And like the best friends I have here in Liepājas are all friends who are always giving and they automatically get a lot back. And they never think about it. Then shut up and work, find your tools. I think I got this one when I was like 22, because I did a lot of studying that was very complicated and all these like internal problems. And my mom said, it's enough. You need to find like tools, and that had to be coding. And you need to get a job. I don't want to hear it anymore. And there's a lot of things you can solve once in a while. Like I have to do it every morning still, but like, all right, just, find your tools and like get to work. And a lot of things will work themselves out in that way. And the last one, like have fun. Like life is a game, like you're not even playing to win, but you're just playing for the fun of being part of it. All right. I think we're now and a half an hour. So I'll just try to go a bit faster maybe. So that was the how. So this is like going on like how you make things. We can talk about cameras, we can talk about websites, we can talk about presentations or whatever. But that's what goes into it. And then there's the passion, the making waves. And like for this one, and it's really such a weird mistake that's made so often that companies totally forget that without the why, like the whole thing doesn't make sense. And I can get kind of agitated about it sometimes, maybe because you'll see people putting endless efforts into the logic of something, or like how much history they have, like their ethos, which means they have like a huge standing or they have authority, But then they don't have a passion. They don't have like a why are you even wanting to tell the story. And the most impressive people fall maybe completely flat because they can't bring it with gusto. Anyway, when I am trying to present and also trying to communicate on these things, which I find incredibly difficult, but you're pretty good at chatting with me. I really like that. It's super hard for me to read people in chats. You can talk to someone, you can meet them, you can like respond. Is this going well? I will get sometimes in my work into huge fights where it's like I'm saying it with a smile and you're reading it as like sarcasm, and now we're over here. So one of these things I try to do is like whenever I try to say something, to be calm, like you never want to say that thing just when you're like, oh yeah, is that how it is? And then you want to be clear, you want to not have too many words. This is my biggest problem. I'm vague. Everyone's always on how vague I am. For me, I'm clear. I'll do it. Yeah, they discuss. But try to make it very small and be clear and be compassionate, because you will always nearly find, I put the nearly because there must be 1% of people who is horrible and just is horrible. But most of the people, if you're compassionate and calm and clear to them, they'll want to help you. They'll want to figure out how they can be there for you today as well, even if you're a complete stranger at a bus station. If you're compassionate to them, compassionate to you, and you can go and do and change things really, really profound way. So these are my last kind of slide things until I think we need to like have a little conversation or see what I can open my website, my personal website, and just ask questions about things that I've made. I can show you the movie also. Last week I bought an apartment in Liepājas because I want to move here, because I really think it's a very inspiring place to be in history, but also in geography. My wife is from Latvia, and she's from Liepājas specifically. And she left, I guess, now it was 12 years ago, to study abroad and to make money and to do the whole thing. But every year we come back to Liepājas, we come back to Latvia, and the more I see the world, the more Latvia grows on me, the more I don't want to be everywhere, the more I want to be in one place.
That's how we do it.
One routine. And I'm very happy to say that this apartment is like 200 meters from here. Even though it's not allowed because it's state law, I will sneak in here once in a while, just have coffee and like see around what you guys are making and be inspired by this. Because if we want to make this future for European competitiveness, that we need to really start thinking about like how to combine, for instance, the way too much money that they have in Holland and the way too much talent that you guys have here. There's like in social theory, you have like different growth and shrink areas. And for a long time, Liepājas has been a shrink area of Europe. Well, we're getting way too many people, way too many houses, way too much money is there. Here, there's people have left, but now they should also come back slowly. Not in a big way, not to make it all crazy. But like people like my wife, she is a really inspiring figure. She's really smart, she's really talented, she's much better in presentations than I am. And it should be time for her to come back and also to just plant the seeds in the place where you took root, you know? So we have a kid, we have another kid coming over. And my passion is really to see like how we can make Europe a stronger place by crossing over with Holland and Latvia. And for the people at home or whoever's watching this, is a report from the lead banker, or the ex-lead banker Mario Draghi, on the future of European competitiveness. And it's pretty harsh. Like we will need to change a lot of things, but there is a vision in there, and it involves a lot of investment again and a lot of daring. But since Trump is in office now, a lot has changed since he's done that. Because this report is still written in a world where NATO exists, and now we just live in this post-truth, completely passion world of Donald Trump. When he sees something in the morning that could just be, okay, now it's Greenland, or now he sold, he bought half of Indonesia. Like nothing makes sense anymore. So we really need as a Europe to have fun, whatever that is. We need to get this thing together over here. And he puts out a real practical set of parameters that need to be fulfilled, and it's a great report. Next, me. That sounded really bad, but this is my site, and find me and talk to me. If anyone here is at this lecture, or if you know anyone, one thing is that I'm very extroverted in wanting to communicate. I have a big part of me, I don't want to communicate it. I just want to read books or code or make pictures or do my creative thing. But I always really find the most engaging and most energetic is to just communicate with people, talk with them, chat with them, and see what are they up to. So I think after the slide there's one more, and then we can look at the site and we can kind of give you a bit more history. And just don't be a stranger and reach out. And then this last one, so it's about doing it, right? So my idea of going to Latvia also, it needs a face, it needs an energy. And with Connected, is something I want to set up here, and I want to see how we can branch out the operations from Holland to Latvia and back and forth. This is a website that I'm making it's behind a passcode, so it's kind of secret, but I can just experiment with it. And just I think half an hour ago, it still said Digital Accelerator, but then it said, actually, I've introduced you as a multimedia expert, and I took that, and I think that's a better thing, because Digital Accelerator is how I like to think of myself if I'm in my own head. But I tell you, what does he do? He accelerates digital, or what does that even mean? You put gas in the digital, you put your foot down, I don't know. But a multimedia expert that's applied, I can do video, I can do photo, I can do apps. So you changed my website. I think this should be, now it should be the perfect thing. But this is a brand I want to set up in a few months here. So if people want to connect, you can also connect to this. You'll be seeing more of it as I go around talking to everyone about it. And just as an inspirational quote for you guys, that I think you can all take, and it was in my book this morning, just got a random quote. It had long since come to my attention that people of accomplishment rarely sat back and let things happen to them. They went out and happened to things. And that's what you will also do, and you'll have to do. Like when you're finished with your studies, you'll just have to happen to the world. You have to get your vision, your energy, and your story, put it out there. And I hope together then we can sculpt or sew or code or paint or build and combine and create together. It makes it be cool. That was the lecture part. And now I've been whispered in my ear by Niels that he wants to also have just a look at maybe portfolio things and that there are questions about them. My portfolio here on my website is about coding. So that's what I'm employed as. If you put on a tax receipt, how do I make money? Then it's this. Why is that? That's just because there's really a lot of work in it. And I love photography, but I'm also kind of wary to make photography my job, because when I make it my job, I'm also setting myself up to get angry. Because with programming, I get a design, the user wants an experience, the client is paid for something, and I build that, and I have interactions with the designers about how to make it, and it's fun to make. But with the photography, I get to keep the whole thing to myself. I get to say everything about the photo, and that for me is something I kind of wanted to save personally, because I do shoots for money, and I do earn money with it also, but I'm just too into the photography to have like someone else's opinion. That sounds like really horrible, but like you're feeling like no, this is it, and if you don't see that, then that's fine. Like you can make your own photo, but I'm not going to have a discussion about it. And with the coding, I can have a discussion about it, right? I can have total discussion about it. I have discussions about it all the time. But also, I like to have just this part of it where it's just, this is up to me and this is how I see it. And I guess this is what you would say is a bit my craft.
Yeah, please show this photo session because it's located in Liepājas Mūzikas.
Yeah. So this is for me really the connected thing that I'm trying to get off the ground. Because what happens here is actually a huge amount of connections. So for one, via Inta Serena of Liepājas 2027, I get hooked up. Oh my God, he's going to kill me. I forget his name right now.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, our hero who's always jogging. Oh, he's going to kill me. But I have the best pictures with him, and I'm sorry. But the one that managed to organize the location for us had to reach out to someone from the municipality to get me, someone with a white card, to get me into this place, because it's actually Multinas sauna, or it's a Multinas?
Muitas
sauna.
Yeah.
You don't just walk in there. Because I'm some arrogant Dutch guy, because I had already promised the models, who were my friends from partying in Liepājas.
It's all about connection.
Yeah, that I would find this location. But because I just in Liepājas, a lot of empty old buildings, you just walk right in, and sometimes there's a guard there and he's drunk, and he's like, and you walk right in. And here it's like, okay, like this like military shit. Yeah. we have to talk to people. So we were just driving there, and it took the guy 45 minutes, but he got us through. And then we made this photo shoot. This is last summer. And the props here are actually just props that we had lying around the house, because we every summer go to Latvia and we spend like 6 weeks in a farm outside town. It's amazing. But I have a lot of nephews, and in Latvia people are obsessed with making children happy. Like, it's a beautiful thing, but it goes also hand in hand with a lot of toys. Like, you pass a gas station, there's a toy. That's not going in there. So I was like going crazy, like what is even all of this stuff, So then I took all this stuff and we put it there, and we juxtaposed them on the background and on what they are doing, right? Because it's very childlike, it's very playful, but they also have a lot of sex appeal. They have like great fashion. But this is also beautiful, right? Because it's from the sex appeal that in the end these children come also, It's this ravishingness of of being beautiful that makes people want to live and to discover the story. And it's so funny because she's also a friend of mine, and Redux for Less is her store that she set up. And she just at one point had an inspiration that in a party in Amsterdam, Fred again, that there should be such a thing as this vintage store in Liepājas. And she just went full on into it and just did it. And that's amazing. I mean, how much more do you need to just be there? And that's like, yeah, this needs to happen. Go back, just do it. And not the whole story and not this whole academic research thing. That's what I mean with what I love about this applied science is it's about the doing it. You know, she just did it. And I think the Redux for Less is going from strength to strength. And yeah, friends like hers doing really well on Instagram. And yeah, I really like being part of this thing. I don't know what it is even yet, but this feels like an example of what connected could be. Find someone from the municipality who can get you into a very hard location, which is amazing. Like that location, it's the old shipyard where they assemble the ships. So this is, for photography, it's perfect also, right? Because you have this huge ceiling. It's fully sun outside, so you can see this blue sunlight, which is horrible. You want to marry when it's cloudy, because otherwise the bride will have very sharp contrast and features. But here you have this perfect location because you have this huge building. It's 2 p.m. and now the sun is hitting off the walls. So the light is, it could be, it looks like it's lit, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But there's no flash. There's no flash. It's just straight out of the camera, I didn't even edit it.
Yeah.
It's crazy. And yeah, you would think it's flash. It was also on the color. Yeah, it's not. It's just the skylight is so ambient and so diffuse that it works. Yeah.
And the main purpose of the photo session was like making art, or there was some other purpose, maybe some advertisement, I don't know, because there is a can in the hand of the girl.
Yeah, that's a funny thing. That's why something I think that should be done much better. Because to me, it was about the art. Because like now I'm on a holiday and now I'm giving this lecture, and the lecture is about how to give lectures. And for me, it's kind of an artsy thing. I enjoy that. So for me, it's just, you know, I go on holiday and make the art of having this picture of this way too cool scene. But for them, it turned out later is that that's a Chupa Chups can from Lidl. And I don't understand why they are all the time turning it away from me. And I just didn't realize that because I was thinking they want to hide the brand or something.
Yeah.
But then later it turned out that they were doing this for Lidl. And I was like, yeah, that's what I mean with the combined, because let me know we're doing this for Lidl, because then we'll make sure to get like the brand on a bit more. And in the end, I made one picture of their stilettos with the can, and then they put that online. But I thought it was so funny that it only then at the end, and yeah, it's like, just tell me, because this is way cool. For instance, that we could go to Lidl and say, yeah, we want to do photo shoots and we want to show the world. Let's see if I can find myself the photography. There we are. So, yeah, last summer I also set up just an Instagram page for myself with the photo shoots and the stuff that I do, to share it a bit more. So I had a personal account, you saw it just there, but it was also vague, right? The personal account is dream emulator. What does that even mean? This is a photography account. So this is from the work party. So in Holland, we work at a company that makes software for very big clients. And if you ever want to get into a cool industry, the software industry is pretty cool. It's pretty hard work, but it's quite fun. I've been going on for around 42 minutes now, which is also the name of the company that I work at, which is a good coincidence. But if people want, I can go on with showing photography, or I can go on with showing websites, or we can just go for discussion now.
Do you have some questions or some sphere of interest? What you want to see more about photography, or even you can show
We can do the workshop, we can practice. Let's do this thing. Let's make this interactive.
Yeah.
So everyone, you're going to get very nervous, but it's very easy. Just like one thing. Just ask why about one thing, and you can just pick whatever you see here. I mean, just go by and I'll just answer it. Just see what happens. So ask me a why, and it's like, why is this picture moved? or why did this woman not get really angry that you took a picture right in her face, or just anything, or why are you even here, or why did you study, or whatever. You want to try?
One why.
Nervous? Just one why.
It's hard to ask questions, but you must practice that. Something about why. There is no wrong question.
There's no wrong question. If you want to kick it off, I think you feel more comfortable.
Not counting your why do you think you're interested in this place in Liepājas?
Yeah, that's a good question. One, to be really honest, it's going to sound really crazy, but it's like a destiny that goes through my wife, because like Liepājas is the most far out place in the world, maybe nearly, because the people somehow in Holland, like Latvia, is very, very far away. And then I meet her and I discover this place. At first I didn't like it. And it's like with all the things that I end up really liking, at first I didn't like it. Like I really didn't like Nirvana, it was too shouty, but then you're like a few days later, let's get out of there. And then with the program, at first I hated it because it was like all the errors, and then you get like, so often the things that you end up really liking take a bit of time to get there. And last winter I got this tattoo, and it's also from an artist in Latvia, in Liepājas, and it's of a cat. And yeah, funny to me that also now the whole Lux Express is full of cats, and we're going to Latvia to Liepājas. But like, it's this kind of city where it takes a bit of like going and finding it and coming back and forth. You have dog cities and you have cat cities. And now in Holland, you have Amsterdam's dog cities, like right in your face, all great and everything, but you get very tired of it. And in Rotterdam, where I'm from, it's like a cat city. Like, how was even the city? But when you go into it, you discover. Mm-hmm. And Liepājas is just like year after year after year, just like more and more and more cool things always show up. And I always love that first day, I can get kind of bored, where I think like there's so little people on the streets here. Yes. Like what is even here? But then that like gives me the space also, you know, I don't need to be constantly confronted, you know, when you go to New York, Paris, you know, I mean, oh yeah, obviously it's such a huge city, but where's the space for me in this? I'm just like a bystander, like this huge river. And in Liepājas, I just take a few days taking a calm, and now I'm giving a lecture here, and this building I didn't even know existed 2 hours ago. And yeah, I think if I would have to say why I love Latvia and specifically Liepājas so much, more than Riga, is that it's so open to adventure, because you still have a bit of space. With old buildings, with cool young people, with friends, and a nice beach. Beach doesn't hurt also in the summer.
Nice question.
You know another one.
Yeah,
we need more.
Very super uncomfortable.
There is no wrong questions. Just why about everything.
Yeah, why about everything? Why didn't I prepare this more?
Yeah.
Can I maybe help for the youngsters?
Yeah.
Why you start to do all these artistic many ways in photography, even in sound design, music making, even video making? Why so much things? Well, because one of your message in the start of the lecture was to be small, and maybe take a focus on something, but you are also example how to do many things in many areas, to try out different things.
That's very
and
good.
Even maybe success in it.
Maybe. Yeah, that's a very good question. It's also kind of a confronting question in a way, because people always tell me like I'm doing like 1,000 things at the same time. And in a weird way, I really am. In a weird way, I'm really not. Because I don't know if people know this, but one of the truths of computers and UI is that it seems now that everything is happening all the time, but actually it's not. It's doing one thing every moment. Like this process are just doing one thing. So even the clock changing one letter is one thing, but it does a billion things. And when I'm in my best of days, I really don't see a difference in if I'm doing photography or if I'm writing or if I'm doing coding, because it's all like in this one thing, you're doing that thing. So you're taking the picture, you're writing the article, you're making a movie. And then applied over them, there's just a very interesting thing that I think you art students will see as well, is everything is kind of the same in a different way. So like when you solve a problem for making a composition, it's a photo, is it a painting, that's composition. And you have that in video as well. Maybe in music also you have a composition, you can cram everything in there. All right, now you're making software. Well, that means you need to like think about there's also composition. So things like the golden ratio and stuff, there's like things underlying creativity and expression that make it that you can just pretty seamlessly move between different disciplines and not even feel you're really changing. Yeah. For instance, this is a music player that I made just because I wanted to put my music online, right? And I got tired of all the subscriptions and stuff. So there's a bunch of like back-end work here that you can play music instantly from an Amazon S3 bucket, blah, 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 blah.
It's connected with something, yeah, with different platforms, yes? This player.
I just made it myself. Mm-hmm. Like there's no platform behind it because this one has a platform, SoundCloud. I need to pay for SoundCloud, and I pay for it, and then it's like, oh yeah, okay. But when they don't take my money, it's finished. That's annoying. So, I have money, but it would be really weird if you make a sculpture and then you like give it someone to host your sculpture, and when you don't pay them, you can't see your sculpture anymore. It's like, I'm sorry, you have to renew your subscription. I get a bit tired of how online they have like made everything. I think because I noticed that it's a bit uncomfortable for people to go straight into these why questions. So I'll just give my own one, and I think maybe we wrap it up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So what's next for me is hopefully moving here with my wife and my son and a little baby girl who's coming, and then set up Connected. I hope to code, combine, and create. Code is my tool, but if you have sculpture, or if you have painting, or if you have art, whatever, please find me. And if there's more of these days, I'll come by. I think I just need to do this a couple of times, and maybe we can next time also we could make something I could learn from you guys. And then my why is really to come here and to see how we can make a combination of our skills and how we can put more and more cases on my page. A case that's going to be useful for you as well is where you just, in a few sentences, you put down what you made and how you made it. And it's also so weird because you'll be doing something for months and you just give yourself the challenge to like, you need to break that down into one like clickable event. And it's just like, this is the text. This is too much text already, And it's kind of also a confronting thing. So I just hope to like come here and make new things. So in Amersfoort, I've been living a while now. We've made a great time of innovating the party scene there. This is something I'd like to do here. And it involves, for instance, that we made a custom light art thing you can use with an app. You can change the colors and everything. But what you see here is made by students. And one of them is not even a student in design, she's a student in law. And she just drew this hand thing because they want the electricity to flow. Anyway, way cool. Her design, the guy's light art ambition, and then me being pretty persistent and saying this needs to be done, otherwise I'm not paying for it. Which helps, it was even a small bit of money, but just symbolically, like I'm paying you for your thing and you need to make this finished. And I remember he was at that last minute, yeah, we're going to finish this tomorrow. And I was like, no, I'm not finishing anything tomorrow, I'm finishing it now. And then it's finished. And we did it. And now at every party, this thing is working and it looks amazing and it like gives a lot of energy. And it even spawned a bigger brother, which is 3 meters high and huge. And so this is, for instance, something I set up recently now in Amersfoort. Shout out main panel. And making a difference never sounded so good. Then switch. So that's cases. When I come here, we'll put more cases on and hope to make more connections. These are people in Holland I've worked with. And again, there's our friend Agatha. We'll see on Thursday. She's incredibly smart, works at Zurich Insurance. My neighbor I hang out a lot with. I won't go into details here, but these are colleagues and friends that I think I've also really successfully found people who know how to make their work play, to see the fun of their work, and they really do excellent things here. People I put on the site are really dear and impressive to me. But I hope to make many more connections when I move to Liepājas. Also,
Yeah. Maybe you can give a short introduction how it is to study in Netherlands.
that was the one. That was the one.
Yes.
Yeah, let's go there. I knew there was something I started forgetting. All right, so let's do this. I'd like to open this up. We are now right about where we should be.
Well, you are searching. I just want to make a short introduction because why it's important to know a bit about Netherlands. It's a popular choice for also all graduates and for Latvians as a whole, because this country is, I think, more open than others for foreign students. There is also a possibility to get government funded credits for programs, and also a lot of programs are in English. It's also a bit easier for the young students, because, for example, the France is a bit more complicated. There is, of course, great universities, but a lot of studying is done in French. And it's sometimes a problem. In Netherlands, in my experience at least, so many studying programs are in English. That's also more easier for Latvians, for example.
Yeah. Yeah, no, French is definitely a problem. I would rank it higher than climate change. To be honest, Holland is really a crazy open country in that way. Sometimes I have to kind of remember. But I spent also quite a lot of time in Paris, and also got into the necessary heated arguments with people where it's I'm speaking English and they're saying, why don't you learn French? And I have to mind, I'm Dutch. Mm-hmm. I don't speak English. I speak Dutch and I'm speaking English to talk to you. Yeah. So why don't you learn English? And then you have French people that are very arrogant and annoyed about that. But yeah, good thing about Holland, it's an open culture. It's extremely direct. You could tell me anything you want now and we would just talk about it, it's fine. And I really like the working culture there for that, because not to go into too many details, but you have high context and low context societies. The Culture Map is a really great book on this, but in Holland and in America, they're really low context. So whatever is being said, that's what is now part of the discussion. And in countries, especially the Nordics, there's a lot of high context. So there's a lot of symbolism. You have a really huge amount of context that you take into a situation, and you'll be more introverted in that way because you know so much what's going on. And the Dutch people will see very simple and stupid, but they just throw it all out there. But it's also the way of that we know in Holland that I'm even getting the context across, you know. And Americans are also famously low context. Hey, how you doing? But you do engage faster. And to give you a bit of scope, like what I said, here's the North Sea, there it ends, and here's Latvia, and there that ends. And in your country, there's 2 million people, 1 million of them live here in Riga.
Yeah. Or around Riga.
Riga. So that puts like 1 million, let's be honest, it's more like 800,000 in the rest of this. And this country is like 4 times as big as Holland. So it's like, in general, it's 16 times less busy, which for me is perfect because I have 2 kids and I'm kind of done with the whole party time and I just want a bit more space. So in this small bit of the world, just within this is, I think, 15 million people. Mm-hmm. So there's like 15 Latvias here. And the weirdest thing is that the people in Holland think they live in a small country. They're very themselves. They're like, yeah, but you can talk about big country because when you talk about big country, you have the UK, you have Germany, you have France. Mm-hmm. So we see ourselves a bit as the Latvian. And that brings me also another reason I really like Liepājas. So you see here Amsterdam and Rotterdam, that's like Riga and Liepājas. This Amsterdam is the very fancy, beautiful, it's Amsterdam. Mm. And then you have Rotterdam actually. Well, it's actually a massive harbor.
I think the biggest in Europe.
The biggest in Europe, easily. and it used to be the biggest in the world till 1998, with Shanghai took over. And here you have an old city that was bombed. And I really love this city a lot because it also took for me a long time to get used to Rotterdam, to like it, because it's ugly. It's an ugly city. If you put a postcard of Rotterdam next to a postcard of Amsterdam, you'll be, oh my God, look at Amsterdam, the beautiful canals and all that. But as an artist, as a maker, I want to have space. I want to be able to find resources. I want to get to know people who also want to do something and can get an atelier. My friend, for instance, she lives on I have a good bridge to the Hague. So my friend, for instance, she's a poet and she lives on this North Island, which is something amazing. Like, you can't really imagine that, like in Amsterdam or in Paris, like that someone's like a friend of mine she's a great poet. She's a poet, she's not a banker.
Yeah.
That she can live on the Ile de la Cité, basically. That's a great thing.
Like in the center of the center.
Yeah, it's
On an island. Summer.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's really beautiful. And when you stand here, you can see the bridge, a modern bridge, not an old bridge. Rotterdam is cool because it really embraced its modernity. After the war, after it was bombed, a lot of cities, they chose to rebuild in their own style, which is very tempting. And it's also, it's also kind of cool. And it kind of makes sense. But also it's kind of painful in the way that, like, you're always going to be remembering what you lost. And Rotterdam just is completely ruthless, like insanely ruthless. The secret is that actually only like 30% of the housing stock was lost when the bombing was made. And the rest they just tore down because they were like, oh shit, anyway, they should have taken away. The quote, and that's really one from the, I have, is they have a church here, this one, Launskerk. And after the bombing, this was also a bit in tatters, and then the local population, they thought, let's just tear it down, right? We can have more space. And then it was even Hitler who said, like, wait. Hold on a little bit, a little bit of culture in there, it would be good to have that. So that one stayed, but for the rest, this is all, the oldest part, the most beautiful part of Amsterdam, you could see is this area. But now it's completely modernized, but that sense that it can be modernized, that if you don't like it, you can tear it down again and start again, because that's what they're going to do with these ones. This was the modern in 1960s, that's going to be the new build place then. So there we are in Rotterdam, and that's where I am from, and I really strongly suggest that people also look at studying in Rotterdam. We have great studies there at the Code Arts, at the Willem de Koning Academy, that's my favorite. There are about getting scholarships and things. I don't know exactly how that works. To be honest, I was just always studying in Holland and from Holland. So I have a lot of friends that could help you further. So don't worry to reach out, because this is where the Kunstacademie is. Everything starts in the middle, in medias res, as they say. So here you are. And this is the art academy. This is where we are now in Rotterdam, is this one. It's a very cool place. Then, where I work is in The Hague, which is not too far away from Rotterdam. That's from there to there, so it's 20 minutes with the train. But then the crazy thing is Holland, you in 20 minutes, you just casually pass like Delft. So it's like where Vermeer is from, and endless beautiful paintings be made. But yeah, it's pretty random because there's just a bunch of fields that used to be sea. They dug up, made a city on Rotterdam, Delft, and then The Hague. The Hague is pretty big. It's the diplomatic city. So the saying in Holland is that the money is earned in Rotterdam, it's divided in The Hague, and it's spent in Amsterdam. That's the way it goes. And basically, it's like that. The working city, the government city, and the spending city.
How did you choose to study in Utrecht?
I studied at the University College. That is all in the center here. Yeah. So Utrecht is also, it looks like the heart of Holland. And it actually has kind of the shape of a heart as well, in this kind of weird way. Utrecht is the center and all the train traffic goes through it. And one of the things that I guess you guys will appreciate also is that in Holland we have way too many people, but we also try to keep a green heart. So we have also like designated certain areas to be green. And then you get the next discussion because what used to be green is fields, but now people also like something like a forest. And actually I'm from this area where there's a lot of forest, and that really draws me to Latvia as well, because I used to live now 12 years in Rotterdam, and as much as I love it, it's a concrete city. Like trees are the exception. It's pretty, if you grow up in a forest, you grow up in Latvia, you feel really the need to smell grass and to hear trees. Yeah, Utrecht is a beautiful city to live and study in. Few things to really know about Holland is you're not the only one. Everyone wants to live in the center of Amsterdam in an affordable apartment close to all the cool stuff. And everyone wants that. I really want to, what's the guy's name? I'm so sorry, but my friend from the municipality here, but I helped his son get an apartment in Amsterdam, but it was a complete miracle because he showed up, and I called my brother and he had a tip and he got into student house. So there are miracles in Amsterdam as well, there are miracles. But if you want to make your life easier, choose for something like The Hague, or in my opinion, Rotterdam is the best city for you because it really breathes this, what I see around me here.
And it's not so expensive, yes?
It's not so expensive. It's the working city, and that's what I like about Liepājas as well. I'm sure Riga has more to offer if you just put it down on a list, right? But I'm not here to just be a tourist. I want to work. And work, you need space, you need craftsmen, you need a bit of this. And I'd rather be in the working city making things that then get sold in the rich city than going in completely crazy trying to make 3,000 euros a month rent, because that's the kind of money we're talking about. You know, what is even that, you know? It's kind of insulting to me as a thought of being an artist or being someone who creates. Like, you know, I'll make that the value of the buildings is so high because you'll make things that make people want to live there. But your time is not to be there when you're, what would be selling a great painting. Selling 3,000 euro painting would be amazing, right?
Yeah.
Imagine you have to do that every month. It'd be so much, so
this
intense.
is just for the apartment, yes? Yeah.
And maybe
you must earn something.
I'm talking about like more like, so in Amsterdam, if you spend 3,000 euros, where that number comes from is, where you're going to have the situation is one, you're not going to be able to rent your own. So you need to rent something with multiple rooms. So you're going to need to find something and you need to split that. And that's going to be 3,000. You're going to split it with 3 people. Soon you're going to get annoyed by each other.
Yeah, of course.
So in a place like Rotterdam, you can find still things for like 900 euros or 800 euros. That is like something with dignity to live. Yeah. Because we're really talking about, if you spend 800, 900 euros a month in Amsterdam, you are probably going to be looking at a wall. Like you will maybe not have a window in this thing. Yeah. Like a cell. Or like a cell, yeah. And yeah, I don't know. And you need to be creative here, you know, you need to make the floor dirty and the different. So in Amsterdam, your competitors on the housing market are going to be people who are working for big banks, who are working for big tech companies. They don't even see the bill of their housing. Like, and that's what you're boxing up against. I couldn't even win that game, so I don't want to tell people to do that, but you can do it. You know, there's Amsterdam is also an amazing city because it has also a great history of arts and history and culture, but you need to be then on the top 1% of that scholarship. Yes. I mean, if you're Michelangelo, you can probably be right on the canal. That's also amazing around. So they will have these things, and there will be people that make it. But it's you versus the person from Japan versus the person from Peru versus, you know, and they're studying at MoMA and now doing the
competition is hard.
It's incredible. And when I was in Utrecht, I studied at the Liberal Arts and Sciences, and this is an old military base outside of town that then got converted into a university location. And what I liked about that, and what I can also suggest for people who want to look for, I'm just trying, it's always hard to see how the world works when you're a bird. Oh, here, it's just like Liepājas. So this is...
Yeah,
this
you
is,
can look at it.
Yeah.
It's a NATO command center there, yes?
Yeah,
That's the
no,
way it
literally.
works.
Literally.
Yeah.
So here's it's an old military caserne. So it's just like Liepājas with the Carlos style. So this part is where we studied, and this part is active military thing, so it's been blurred. But what I loved here a lot, and it's lovely to be naive also. I was talking this morning with my mother-in-law, but naive is such a weird word because people see it as negative, you're naive, but actually it's really beautiful, like you just can live out your dreams a bit more without the harsh reality, which you will need to face, let's be honest. But here I was very naive. Here was my arts time, we had great people living here, really smart, interesting people, and you could spend all day like making art and talking, studying what you want. So to find the education where you really realize that it's also the community aspect of it, because you can study, for instance, at, I don't want to put down universities, but certain universities I studied at, I just couldn't do it because I didn't like the building, which sounds really dumb, right? Because you should be like such an intellectual person, you should just do it. But when I walk around here, I already feel like I love it here. With the walking through the warm part and the Venus campus, you feel like you have something to learn. We also have a context in which you want to learn. So before you do anything in Holland, like go on Google Street View or go there once or call me and I'll go around and film for you. Because you need to know that this is a place that you're going to feel that you can thrive. And not, for me, it was too much anyway to go to a university which is next to a highway because it's easy to reach. And everyone is just there for their courses and then they go home because they don't have a beer because they're doing their career. And you guys, I think, really will be in a part of your life where you want to feel the adventure around it. And I think Niels wants me to stop talking, but any place that you want to go in Holland, just send me a message, Niels, and I'll help you figure it out if it could be something for you. It's just
That's
like
nice.
in Latvia, you have a lot
Now
of
we have some connections.
Yeah, you have a connection.
Yeah. Still, maybe you have some questions.
More questions.
Yeah,
Maybe you can tell a bit more on tools what you're using for your coding stuff. Like what's.
Yeah. So I'll just open whatever I have now. So this is from work, so I shouldn't be sharing that one.
Yeah, commercial secrets.
This is commercial secret, so I'm sorry. This was just.
We will blur it out like a NATO command center.
Exactly. So then I can show you this one. It's something I made myself. As I'm never, ever allowed to not work, I made other holiday. I made a website where I want to sell Latvian design products in Holland.
Oh.
And this thing actually exists, and it's called ilo.nl, and I like it because, well, first I just thought of like cool letters that look cool, and ilo looks like a little face that's looking at you. So you've got this kind of billboard look, right, with two eyes in here. And then I was like, all right, I have a website name, so now I need to like figure out what it stands for. So then I made up designed and developed in Latvia.
Okay.
You can switch between cheese mode, which is Dutch, and English mode, which is, English. Oh, I seem to have busted the thing. Oh, no, it's English. And, I'll just show you what I'm showing you, and then I'll show you how I built this. So this is a Latvian design. I made a big friend of mine through Babbitt. These are hi-fi audio speakers. It's a really great friend of mine. I really like it. And I was busy trying to resell these things in Holland. And basically, it took too much effort at that time in my life, but I did not give up on this. And that's why I like also with websites and stuff. This whole thing I built in summer while having free time, and it's hosted for free. I can it has a CMS and admin, everything. It can change everything I want, and it can just live. And for now, I've just put the links to their shops. Which they need to fix again. That one also.
Only one is working.
Yeah, and that's the tough thing. So, like the Latvian products, they have great market. This bike really has market in Holland. There will not be, because I have one at home, there will not be a day go by when with my kid and someone will stop me on the street. But the thing here is that the guy, he kind of got disillusioned because it took too long to really work. That's why I also want to move here, go back to Reinhardt and say, look, we need to do this, because it's a really great thing. And now the site is down and stuff, and I hope to just buy out his stock and sell it myself. Yeah, why not, right? This one's the same mini. It's such a shame. But anyway, this is a website I made.
We give up too quickly.
It's not too quickly, but it's like you're not. I had a meeting with them, and they said like, "Good luck with your plan to land on the moon." And then I thought that was such an interesting thing for them to say, because what I was pitching to them is like, "I'll sell your stuff in Holland," and like. Honestly, that's not such a weird thing to say. It was like all those fancy old paintings or people in Holland who went over to the Baltics, got wood or timber or amber, sold it. So that's kind of what the Dutch do for hundreds of years. But he's saying like, good luck with landing on the moon, because it's such a far out idea.
No, it's like the Dutch are super cool in design, Like,
I don't know, this Latvian is cool, I think. Honestly.
That we can compete, I guess.
Really? I don't know. No, I think for one, like I really stand behind that, like Latvian craftsmanship is just at a way higher level than Dutch craftsmanship, but that depends on which section. Maybe you're looking. We're good in audio and hi-fi, but a lot of things, and that's the same thing you're seeing in America now. We had the big names, and we moved all abroad. We moved it all into offshoring and stuff. Philips, for instance, I think it's very sad that they are now actually just a Chinese company that uses the Philips brand, and they focused on medical. Okay, but there's such an honor in your brand to at least to make sure that you still have the craftsman. And Latvia, if I drive around the country, I'll find a lot of craftsmen, from black pottery to woodworking to saunas to whatever it is. You'll find someone, and I think because there's just a lot of nothing, people have a lot more space to like get really into something. Because how good would you be at woodworking if every single moment there's 10 million things going on in Holland? I just don't get enough bandwidth sometimes. Just from driving to work and back, I need to recover. 2-hour drive, 1 hour looking in the back of the car. And then I'm going to go home, be creative. No, I would do this. Anyway, when I am creative, I use tools like IntelliJ. This is what we call an IDE. So when you have a website, actually a website is nothing else than a bunch of files on someone else's computer. And when you receive these files, it's like receiving folders on a USB stick, but just it goes over the internet. And then these files, they exist of all sorts of little squares. Everything is a little square, and a square is filled in with text, or a square is filled in with image or video. And we like to call these squares components. So if I bring down the visual distraction here for a bit, so that's the biggest difficulty always with programming, is the distraction of all this stuff. And you bring it down, you will see that here, there's my folders. In my source, I have components. And in my components, I have things like a header. What's a header? It's a logo. There's a bit of space. And there's a color mode button. And we go here, and then we see this. So these are the elements of my. And if I do this, I should have no logo. And then the key thing is to make sure you're on localhost. And then you realize that you're doing something wrong and you look really stupid. Which is always like it. But yeah, so this is what I use. There's a lot to talk about. If you want to talk about programming, I love it a lot. I can just keep things simple for people, because what challenges people a lot with programming is that it seems so strange that all these colors and all these letters, that they actually make something, that the more you look at it, the more you just see the shape of things and the way that you can put things together. It's just like Lego blocks. And nice to try and make it small first, so that you can then build it out. But all these things are components, and I can jump into them. So this is how my logo is built up. So there I'm using my logo. And there I'm defining it. See, there it's very small and it's encapsulated, it's concise. But everything that the logo needs is inside here. And this is nice also.
You said that you started by studying arts, and at what point and how did you get into coding?
So
did you first try out, I don't know, coding in these more visual environments or?
It's a really good question.
I don't know. Yeah, I'm from I work here as well in media arts department in university. And our students, they actually struggle with code a lot. But then we start with processing or this P5J and Max and stuff like that. And now, of course, HTML and CSS.
Yeah.
They tend to struggle.
Yeah, I would love to teach on that. So if you have a vacancy, let me know, because what I like really to do is that you need to do these things with coding from the first principles.
Yeah.
Because when you jump into what you actually see around you in the world that is presented to you as coders, is often you'll start with websites and you will change, for instance, you can on my website you can even change, or let's not be blasphemous and change the Latvian government website, but you can go to all the websites in the world and you can just change things because this code is around you and it's accessible.
Yeah.
But then what's behind this code is often really very complex, and the way that it gets there is very complex. And because you need to learn how to make these things apply, then it seems that's really hard. So what I just did is something very fundamental you can also do on the back. And when you do it on the back, it would actually still remain, because now it's gone. But what you often see is that there's so much out there to code that the little thing, and making a little light go on and off on a PCB, or making just a text change, that if you build it up really, really slowly, it's just like what you will do when you're learning to paint or you're learning to make sculpture. You don't just go and make the big thing in one go. You make all these little steps. And what's challenging about the coding is that not so much that the steps are complicated, because they are really, really very easy in a way, but is that they just they stack up so fast. And I don't know if it really answers your question, because what you asked was, how do I get from the one to the other? So I'll give you that one a bit better. So I was doing a Bachelor of Arts at the University College.
Yeah.
That was amazing. Very hippie time, I guess. But that's very broad. Then I went for a Master's of Art at the Erasmus University. I studied city planning, and I wrote a thesis called Space Instead of Subsidy, because we have a lot of art is focused on subsidy. But what I also like on Latvia, at least for me, is that because the housing is cheaper, I could get space, and I've often really found that this is the space that I want. So in Holland, for instance, the things that work culturally well is where the government says to young people, well, we'll give you this, but then it's up to you. Because when the government starts to fill in exactly what is the culture that should be shown, you get pretty DDR vibes about it, right? So now we'll pick up your pencil here, and this will make the perfect art. You don't want that. So that's what I studied at the Erasmus University, is how could municipalities find a balance between offering everything you need for cultivating the culture and creativity, but not overstepping it to where you say what is actually good culture. And that's what they were doing in my eyes, and I wrote a piece about that. But just, all right, we give you the problem space, as it were, but you have to fill it yourself. Yeah. Long story. After doing that, I then realized that I'm a completely theoretical person, because I go online, my government subsidy student life ends, and it's not really a subsidy, it's actually a massive loan I've been taking for ages, pretending it's free money. It's not smart. That ends, and now it's okay, go and get a job. Well, I'm a very interesting guy, I do all sorts of things. Well, what am I typing in? So when I started to type in things online, on LinkedIn, literally, I discovered the term front-end web developer. What is even that? Front-end means it's more on UI, web means it's on web, and developer means what we used to call programmer, and what they used to call hacker. And it just evolves. But then I found like a job that I can do, or that I would like to do. But then I needed a piece of paper. So then I went to the Grafisch Lyceum in Rotterdam. So it's a really big, something to recommend. But that would be your secondary education year. And that's where I then learned how to make a website. And I remember it was funny because we got, sorry Rob about this one, but we had a lot of courses about everything from Photoshop to InDesign to all these tools. And one course was about the web development. But then I just got like so stuck into that because I decided to make my bunny game. It was a game where you would have a bunny and you'd like get carrots from the field. And without any framework, big tip, don't use frameworks for as long as you can. Because then they'll just force you to make a lot of mistakes. What I mean by framework you get with programming, why would you make the whole website like as if it didn't exist? Why would you make every single thing when you can just pull something off the shelf? Well, why you want to is why you want to spend your years here making sculptures by hand for a while before just walking in and buying something that's finished. So here you really learn how to make the littlest things. And then we kind of just got sucked into that. So I failed all the other courses and the guy just said, I should fail you, but you're too nice, so I'm going to let you pass. Because you're really into this web and graphic designing, and that's just your choice to pursue that. So through an applied study, and then again, another 2 years of going really into depth on programming, I got to marry what I needed as a tool. And the cool thing about programming is, if you get really meta and think everything is kind of defined by programming in a way, from where we work on to how the bus works or how traffic lights go on and off. And it's a kind of way of thinking to deduce things from their logical situation you want them to be into, like what you need to go to do. It's a very interesting exercise. And I think I could do it for the rest of my life, even if AI takes over. I haven't earned anything, I would just still code things because it's like making puzzles or Sudokus, or I don't know what to do with my head otherwise, I just get bored or weird.
From my point of view, just want to add that even if young artists or designers are struggling with coding, even from my experience, I was thinking the same, because for me programming is like quantum physics. It's something impossible, but with some AI tools, I even made my own portfolio page. These ChatGPT, for example, can code in simple ways, of course, but something for me, I can, and even I, that I'm a complete idiot in programming, can make something that can make me feel a bit better and be more interested in the programming area. It can be a little good start.
That's what I really love about AI, because there's the aspect in the sense that, it's going to take my job. Well, it's not so interesting as the aspect is that, like, it lowers the barrier for people to just have fun with it.
Yes.
And the most amazing thing is that it was already lowered by the fact that we had YouTube and what we call Stack Overflow. I'm already kind of in a generation of people who learn to code by the miracle of the internet. I mean, it's not the 70s anymore where people are like hardware stores learning this, like, would you like videos? Would you like whatever, it's there. And then this AI is just amazing because it can give you the end result, and they call this progressive disclosure of complexity. You can then dig into that with the AI. So what I find often is that I will use AI to make things, but not to make the end result as much as that I want to understand like how it's made. Because that's the job that you will then still have if you want to become an expert. There's one thing to make a portfolio page. It's another thing to, for instance, make an airplane.
Yeah.
Like people, I don't see it happening just yet that it's under law allowed to AI code an airplane together, right?
Yeah.
So you'd be like, I want some proof of this thing. Yeah, we just chucked in some prompts and it seems to work well. No, it doesn't. That doesn't go. So there will be people that need to understand the fundamentals of what has been applied through this code. And you can now very easily just have something be made for you, like a tic-tac-toe game. And then, like we said, that's a good one to get around. Why? Like, just keep asking the AI, like, why do you have all that code there? Because there is a reason for it. That's great with code. There's no fluff. Or if it's fluff, it shouldn't be there.
Yeah.
If there's code that is just fluff, why? Why is it there? Go, shake it off, shake it off, shake it off. And the AI can open amazing doors. I'm very excited to see what young people do with AI.
Yeah, it can be a good helper in the learning process.
And combining and coding, just to go back, I think my throat is one dry from the coffee and also dry from that. I think I've been talking now for 1.5 hours straight. But I have code is my thing. But sculpt, combine, create. Sew, combine, create. Paint, combine, create. Like, find your tool, find your thing that you're really good at, that really makes you tick, that you would do if you were one day, and then combine it. I combine it with photography, I combine it with this, I combine it with lectures. But maybe your combination is, I don't know, you want to paint holiday homes on the coast of Latvia and you have special paint technique that makes the sunset look perfect on Instagram. I don't know, just made that up, but there's like things that you can just take your tool you're really good at and like combine, create. I think you'll do it.
Sounds great.
Thanks guys and girls.
Nice conclusion.
Yeah, alright. Cheers.
Yes, if you don't have any questions, then it's the ending of this perfect story about creating and combining some different things.
Make waves.
Make waves.
And find me. So if I'm pretty light on what you can do and study in Holland, but like you can do a lot of things. And find me if you need information or if you want to just chat about how it is to study there. I've helped a lot of people find rooms to the point that there's even been children born under the people that I found rooms for. I was pretty proud of that. So I found a room for one guy and then I found a room for a Lithuanian girl and then they meet up because of my party and now they move together and have a kid. I was like, definitely have my name on this. Yeah, I was very proud of that one.
It's fun.
Yeah.
But that's great. You're changing the world.
Yeah. Have you found some people from Netherlands in Liepājas already?
Yeah, well, you have pointed me to, I still need to meet him.
From here, They learned in the same university of Utrecht.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the same. Therefore, you have already something similar.
Yeah.
But I think in different department, I'm not sure about that. I'm not so
it was university college first, like the university college, the liberal arts and sciences, so that's really kind of a hippie enclave next to the real university.
Yeah.
But as a hippie enclave, still people go into really interesting positions from there. It sometimes surprises you, like the more hippie people are, the more like, okay, now the Bank of America, one of my colleagues is the advisor to the Fed, Bank of America, the Jake Paul guy. No, not Jake Paul, I completely botched that one, but impressive people.
Yeah. We trust you.
Yeah. Name dropping ends or something. Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks guys.
Thanks a lot.